I was invited to a friend's housewarming party. I liked this friend, and I genuinely wanted to be there. On the drive over, I even looked up conversation starters, which, if you've ever done that, pretty much tells you where this story is headed. I had my mental list. I felt prepared, ready even. Then I walked through the front door and it all just vanished. It was all completely gone, like someone had wiped a whiteboard clean. Now I'm standing in the kitchen holding a Sprite I don't even want, and I can't think of a single thing to say. I might have managed a nice place to the friend whose house it was. The strangest part was that I could still feel the words somewhere in reach, like a word on the tip of your tongue that won't quite come. I knew what I wanted to say, I just couldn't access it. Hello, my name is Kara. I'm a first-time podcaster and a longtime friend, and this is Fluent in Friendship. Here's what was actually happening in that kitchen. My nervous system had decided that the housewarming party was a threat. It made the call somewhere underneath my thinking, the way it makes calls about loud noises and sudden movements in the dark at night. Once that happens, your brain can shift resources towards survival and away from things like remembering names and making small talk. That's why just relax usually just fails as advice. By the time you would need to relax, the part of you that could hear the instruction is already offline. The same problem applies to just practice more. Practice assumes that you can access what you practiced, and if your nervous system has locked the door, more rehearsal does not get you the key. The skill underneath this episode is self-regulation, which means bringing your own nervous system back to a state where you can use what you already know. The goal is to get back to a place where you can think, decide, and respond like yourself again. Here is the practical skill, and it is very simple. You breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, and then you breathe out through your nose for 6 counts. That's the whole technique. The reason it works is mechanical. When you're anxious, your breathing gets short and shallow because your body is staying ready to move fast. A slow exhale that is longer than your inhale sends a different signal to your nervous system. You are breathing the way calm people breathe, and your body starts to follow. You do not need to feel 100% zen. You just need to feel like yourself for long enough to say hello and maybe ask a question. You can do this almost anywhere. You can do it sitting in the car before walking in. You can breathe standing in the bathroom for 30 seconds. You can even do it mid-conversation, which is where the second piece comes in. One important note about your environment first. If you are in a room that is actively overwhelming your senses, there's a flickering light, there's music that's too loud, or there's too many people in too small of a space, the breath alone might not be enough. Your nervous system is responding to real sensory input, and slow breathing might not override that on its own. If you can, address the environment first. Move 6 to 10 feet away from the speakers. Find a place to sit down, or step into a quieter room for a minute. Then breathe, and then re-enter the situation. The hardest version of this is when you're already mid-conversation and you cannot excuse yourself to breathe. The trick is using a phrase that creates a natural pause, long enough for one slow inhale and then a longer exhale, without anyone noticing you needed it. Some of these phrases can sound like, "Let me think about that for a second. Good question. Give me a moment." Or, "I want to give that the thought it deserves." All of these work well. People hear someone being thoughtful, and you get 4 to 6 seconds of breathing room. Nobody is counting your pauses. If you're already inside an event and struggling, I would encourage you to find a bathroom. Take 60 seconds to breathe and then go back out. I think bathrooms are the unsung hero of social events. I have had more resets in restaurant bathrooms than I care to admit. The most useful thing you can do with this skill is practice it when nothing is at stake. Pick one boring moment that already exists in your day, waiting for the microwave, sitting in the car before going to the grocery store, or standing in line. Inhale for 4 seconds and exhale for 6 seconds. 1 round is enough. If you do it once a day in a low-stakes moment, the technique can become familiar. Then, the first time you need it in a real situation, you are not learning a new skill under pressure. You are using one you already know. A quick note here. If the breathing helps, but your brain replays the event for hours afterward, that's a different problem. Tier 0, Episode 4, When Your Brain Won't Stop Replaying, the 24-hour rule, covers that specifically. If you're regulated but still don't know what to say once you get there, that's a Tier 1 skill. I would encourage you to start with Tier 1, Episode 4. You're already talking before they finish the processing pause. And if the overwhelm is severe enough that none of this touches it, a therapist who works with anxiety or sensory processing can help you build a baseline these tools can't reach on their own. That moment in the kitchen with the Sprite that I did not want. Well, I have had a lot of versions of that moment since then. The breath does not make those moments stop happening, but it gives me a way back into myself when they do. And if you try the breath while waiting for the microwave tonight, nobody has to know. That's between you and the leftover pasta.